Good afternoon and welcome to In the Know with Jennie. How are you all today? I hope you're doing well. We're having a little technical problems with Elizabeth, our guest who's supposed to be on the show today. Well, I just want to say I'm so happy to be here. It's been a crazy week on my end. I don't know about you guys, but I've been keeping my eyes on the news and it's kind of frightening if you ask me. So happy Ash Wednesday to everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, we had a really good show last week, huh? It was fun, and I'm glad you were here with me for the ride. But before we get started, since we're waiting for our guest, Elizabeth Stadtlander, she's a highly qualified mental health professional with a diverse range of specialties and training in different therapy modules, and her educational background and in clinical experience, including, oh boy, therapy, marriage, family, clinical internships. She's a lead felicitator, and I strongly recommend if you get a chance to check out her website. She is really up on things. And let me see what she can't get in. Hmm. I'm not sure why she can't get in. Elizabeth, let me see. You can't open it, honey. You're going to have to go to Safari to open it if you're using your phone. And you're going to have to follow the link, copy the link into it. If you're having really bad trouble, you can always call in. We can do it that way. Um, StreamYards is not that hard, but when you're using a phone, it is. So, okay. Hey, Elizabeth, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you, but I cannot download your link.
Yeah, you have to do, if you're using an iPhone, you have to go into Safari and copy the link in there and open it in a browser in Safari. If you're using a laptop, all you have to do is click the link.
So if I'm in, like, I wanted to use my iPad, but it wasn't working.
Yeah, because an iPad, you have to actually go and you have to go open Safari and you have to copy the link and put it in a browser.
Okay, I have Safari browser.
Yeah, you go to StreamYards. You have to open the link in Safari. Just copy
Okay,
the link.
let me try this again. Let me try again. Do you want me to let you go? Are you starting your show? Like, I don't know how.
Yeah, we're already live, hon. Yeah, we have you on the sorry, your audio is on. So all you have to do is click the link. If it's going to be hard, I wanted to have people call in, but they can hear you now. If it's too much of a hassle, you can just
I just don't know why this is so difficult. I'm sorry, everybody. Sorry. Okay, let me try this one more time.
yeah, you just go into Safari and copy the link and paste it into the browser.
Okay.
That's why I don't use my phone when I do. It's just a pain to do it that way.
Yeah, I feel terrible because I cannot make this work. Let me see.
We had Travis Walton figure it out. And he's an older dude.
Okay, so I clicked the link and
It's going to ask you for your name and you put your name in. This is an educational people. This is an educational show. It's teaching you.
Who are 47 and don't know how to do this. This is what goes on. Okay, so I'm going to Messenger, and I am.
You copy the link and you put it in your Safari browser and hit search, and then it'll pull it up.
I hit copy, and then so I hit Safari, but my search is Google.
Well, and if you're using an iPad, it might not work if you don't have. You can try Google in an iPad, but I highly doubt it'll work.
It's not working.
Yeah, you have to use Safari if you're using an iPad or an iPhone or.
I don't know how to do that because Safari.
Okay, we can just do the show here.
Wait, is this an app? Oh, wait a minute. Hold
Because no big deal, because we can always do it like this, and we just won't have any call-ins that people can chat. And if you're listening right now, you can go ahead and if you have any comments or questions, please go to the chat.
They're like, you would ask her for advice. She can't even she can't even get onto this link, which I'm not going to be able to do.
Okay, well just ignore it. If ever I would like if someone is watching right now, if they can hear her all right, because I'm using my mic on my phone, on my cell phone. I don't know if anybody's listening. Kelly, yeah, it's hard for the people can't hear you.
They can't hear me.
No.
All right.
It's hard to hear on my end too.
Can you hear any better now?
I can hear you guys really well.
Kelly, can you hear her any better?
Not really.
This is going to be.
Do you want me to call on your cell phone instead of through Facebook?
You can try that. You call the number on the screen if you can see it.
No, I don't.
Okay. I'm sorry, folks. We're calling from this. If you're turning in live, we're on FM 105.3 in New Orleans and 107.1 in New Orleans. And if you have any questions on YouTube or Facebook, please put them in the chat. Okay. I have to pull up I don't have it. Wait a minute. Okay, it's 724-623-2299. And I'm going to hang up on this. Can you see it?
Right now.
Okay, let me hang up.
Okay.
I don't know how to hang up the phone. Sorry, folks, for this inconvenience. She is very good. We're going to be talking about narcissism today. If you know anybody who is a narcissist in your life, it can be really challenging. I know I have a couple in my life who are narcissists, what I think is a narcissist, and I hope she can figure out how to call. This should be a comedy show today. I'm thinking she's having a hard time calling in. Oh my God. Here, I will text her. Lord help us all in this world. Okay, I will call her. If you have any questions, okay, here she comes. She's calling back. You can't call either.
I know.
Okay, I'm gonna text you my personal number. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Oh Lord, help us all. Lord, help us all. It's okay. It's okay. She's okay. Okay. I do apologize, folks. Live television, live radio. This is the things that happen. And only on my end, it always happens. So, okay. She's going to be calling, and I hope she can hear. I hope you'll be able to hear her now. Okay, Elizabeth.
Okay.
Kelly, can you hear any better?
Can you say something again, Elizabeth?
Can you say something?
Yes. Hi, this is Elizabeth Stadtlander from Miami, Florida.
It sounds about the same.
107 something FM.
I'm sorry, Kelly.
It sounds about the same. It's still kind of hard to hear.
Okay, well, I'm going to turn up my mic. I hate doing this because it can get really, 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 really loud. And I'll probably end up.
While you're doing that, I'm going to try as we're talking through this phone to make this work on my iPad. So we might, if I can do two things at one time, it might actually work. So why don't we just go ahead and start the interview, and I'll see what I can do on my iPad in the meantime.
Okay. Well,
it sounds better now.
It sounds better because I turned you way up. Okay. I turned my mic up, so I'm sorry, folks, if I sound too loud. Okay. So Elizabeth, how I have a number of questions for you right now.
Sure.
Today it seems like it's having a relationship with someone is very difficult. And last week we talked about dating. Okay. We talked about dating, and I know a lot of people have issues with family members, or they're in a relationship with someone who is a narcissist. And one of my things is, what is an narcissist? Let's just start right there. What is a narcissist?
Okay, actually, that's a great place to start because narcissism has become so part of the mainstream pop culture that what a true narcissist is, has been very lost. So, if we're talking clinically, a narcissist is somebody who has a personality disorder. And a personality disorder is a lifelong, pervasive pattern of behavior that starts in early adolescence and continues to develop throughout adulthood.
Mm-hmm.
So when you think of narcissism and you think of any personality disorder, of which there are 13, you're thinking of a very, again, it's a lifelong but very predictable pattern of behavior. So when we're thinking about narcissism, we're thinking about a predictive pattern of somebody who really only understands the world through their own eyes. They lack the ability to feel for other people. So when we hear that narcissists lack empathy, they do, meaning that they can only feel their own feelings.
Mm-hmm.
They don't really connect to or feel other people's feelings. And if you don't think about other people in relationships, in anything in life, and you're on the other side of that, it's quite painful.
Mm-hmm.
Because the narcissist is always looking to promote their own needs, get their own needs met, and they will exploit anybody to do that. And they're very arrogant. They think they deserve special treatment, and they can present in a various ways, but typically they can be very critical, very rageful. They have, these unreasonable expectations that if they say jump, everyone's supposed to say how high. And they can do and act however they want, but they don't accept anyone's behavior outside of themselves unless it's exactly what they want. That's how I would define a narcissist in a long breath.
That's a lot. So what can we do? Like how can we avoid getting into, or let's just start with the relationships right now. How can we avoid getting into, is there something that we can do, or some kind of like a screening test that we can do for someone?
Yes, there is. So one of the things, I have a couple little tips I give my clients. When you're going out on a date for the first time, you want to see if that person is interested in you. So are they sitting there talking about themselves all the time and not really asking you a lot of questions? Because if you find that happening, that's a little warning flag that you could be with a narcissist. Because normal people, there's an exchange back and forth. Well, where are you from? Or where are you from? And tell me about yourself. And, you want to show interest when you're beginning a relationship. Narcissists will really focus on themselves and talk a lot about them. Just, blah, 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 blah. They'll go on forever about themselves. So that would be one tip I would say. The other thing I always tell clients to look for, if you're on a date with somebody new, watch the way they treat the wait staff.
Oh.
If they're on a first date with you and they're not even able to hold their act together to be polite to a waiter or waitress or a hostess, do not go on a second date with them, because what you saw there tonight, you're going to be on the other side of that, and it won't take too long.
Well, I never thought of that one.
Mm-hmm. Very important. Another thing you can do, and this is kind of a more challenging one, and you might want to consult with a therapist. You might want to call me if you're really worried about this, but you might want to ask about their family relationships. Are they close to their family? Do they have good relationships with their friends? Do they have long-standing friendships? And I think when you are meeting someone that doesn't speak to anyone in their family or doesn't speak to their children or doesn't have any friends, and they'll give you a big sob story. Don't fall for it. Ask questions. And if you can, I think for a first date, those are a couple of things you can do to kind of keep yourself safe from a narcissist.
Well, there you go. That's something like, well, what if they just don't get along with their family? That doesn't mean they're a narcissist, right?
Correct. And that's a great follow-up question, because I wanted to mention that. So when you're looking at somebody that you want to date or you want to be serious with, you potentially want to have as your significant other or friends, you want to be really picky, because you're allowing somebody into your space. So while we don't want to judge anybody, because listen, I have problems with people in my family, and we all do. That's why I have a job, and that's understandable. But narcissists have a pattern of, they'll tell you that, they will tell you that they don't speak to this one, they don't speak to that one, and you can listen to what they say, and it's always the other person's fault.
Mm-hmm.
They'll sort of play like a victim. So, for most of us normal people, if we have arguments with somebody, most of us, after, the initial defensiveness wears off, we can say, okay, you know what, maybe what I said was wrong. I'm sorry. How do you have a nice little, you can have a little talk about it. Narcissists never, ever, 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 never take responsibility for anything.
They don't?
So no. So they will, when they're talking about their family, they'll always be a victim of, what my mother did, and a victim of what my father did, or a victim of my
sister. Yeah.
They never have any role in it. So, and again, these are kind of secret hints that I'm giving you that, the average person doesn't, wouldn't think of. But it's good to, even listen to this show a couple times and jot these things down in a notebook. And kind of, sometimes I have my clients carry these little tidbits with them on a notebook paper in their purse.
Mm-hmm.
So if they get nervous, or they're, something strikes them funny, they can, run to the bathroom and look at their list, or they can, jot something down to ask Elizabeth in session next week or something. So, you don't want to be, yes, we could all have problems with our family. We all do. But with narcissists, again, there's always these extreme patterns of dysfunction in the relationship. And that's really what you want to look out for.
Well, I have a friend who's always complaining about narcissists, but then they constantly blame their family on their problems. Like, you don't understand, my family was this way or that way. It's not fair. To me, that just gives me like, okay, maybe they're a narcissist. They're just, it's like hard to define.
It is, and I think what's making it more difficult is that I've noticed probably in the past, let's say 3 to 4 years, I'm a therapist that does a lot of online work. So I have lots of videos, and, I haven't in a while, but I used to do live podcasts a couple times a week. And I've noticed that over the past few years, the concept of narcissism has kind of been stolen by the pop culture and become the real true definition of a narcissist has kind of just vanished, and everybody's a narcissist. That's
what everybody, I found that too. Oh, they're a narcissist, and there's so many Facebook pages saying, narcissist, giving you ideas. I'm involved with a narcissist. How do I deal with it? Well, then okay, there's a question. Why do people stay involved with these people if they're narcissists?
Oof, that's a loaded question. Listen, people, so many of us make we make the best decisions that we can with what we know at the time that we enter relationships. And a lot of times we don't realize what we're dealing with until 6 months, a year into it, because narcissists a lot of times they're such good con artists that they can put on a really good act for a while. So I think it could happen to anybody. I think once you're in it, just like when you're in any relationship, once you're invested emotionally, you keep thinking, okay, this person's going to change, or maybe I'll be different. And a lot of it is connected back to, your level of self-confidence and your understanding of your own value. And unfortunately, a lot of us forget about our own value and we focus on the other person's. Mm-hmm. And when we do that, we forget about ourselves. And we get sucked into these very dysfunctional relationships. And it's complicated. Mm-hmm. It's complicated why people do the things they do.
Yeah, why they do the things. That should be a show. Why do people do the same things over and over?
And I think like any abusive relationship, people say, they're afraid to leave because of the kids, or they don't have any money and resources to get out of a relationship. They've been married for so long. And I've had clients that didn't realize that their partner was a narcissist. They just knew that there was so much dysfunction and toxicity in the relationship that they came in for help. And after listening to their story, I would, poke around and ask them questions and, say, well, it kind of sounds like, your wife or your husband has some narcissistic traits. And oftentimes people will get quite defensive about that, well, no, they're not.
Yeah.
Okay, well, just offering the idea. Just offering the idea. We can explore that more together. And I try to educate people and let them decide, of course, with my guidance, what are they dealing with?
Mm-hmm. Kelly, feel free to join and chime in anytime. I just want to make sure you know that. I've been looking at the narcissistic personality disorders. So that's a disorder. So being a narcissist is a disorder.
Yeah, clinically speaking, it is considered a personality disorder, which it's listed in our, we have a diagnostic manual, and we're up to number 5, which is quite different than the one I learned on. But that's where the clinical definition of narcissism officially is. And that's the way we understand it, as a cluster B personality disorder, very different than a mental disorder. Mental disorders, things like depression, bipolar disorder, ADHD, those mental disorders, plus many hundreds of more, are considered temporary and treatable. So we know through research that if we give medication and therapy, or one or the other, that we can arrest the symptoms of that particular disorder. But if we look at personality disorders, there's only really 13 of them in 3 different clusters, and they're much more complex. So they're not the same as someone who's depressed. It's a you're depressed. It's not your personality. It's your mood. It's maybe you just got out of someone died, or you're just going through something and you're depressed. Well, when that circumstance changes and you get some new perspective, it's going to be over. But with a personality disorder, it's doesn't change. It's the way you are.
Oh, wow. So are they born like that, or is this something that happens during the course of their lifetime?
We're just starting. My field is actually so new. I mean, we're only like 100 years old, so we don't know. Mm-hmm. We are finding that, there's some we can trace in heredity and families. We can trace it. We've not narrowed it down to a gene yet. I personally believe that narcissism develops not because of genetics, although who knows, right? Who really knows? But when I see a narcissistic parent and, a kind of overbearing parent. The narcissist is one way, and then the wife or the husband that's not the narcissist kind of dotes on them. So there's a lack of discipline, and but yet at the same time there's no warmth coming from one of the parents. There's a lot of times kids who are bullied as children. That can be very traumatic. That can turn people into narcissists. Sexual abuse, physical abuse of any nature, watching physical or sexual abuse going on between your parents as a child, any really childhood trauma where the child feels really, really powerless
Mm-hmm.
and it's not resolved can kind of turn into a narcissistic personality in order for them to survive because they feel so small and so insignificant.
So what if you are a narcissist and I don't know, and you realize you have these tendencies? Is there anything you can do to like work through them? If that makes sense.
Of course. I mean, yes. I mean, yes and no. So the research will tell you no. Okay. I like to always think out of the box and never lose the part of us that is human and that is divine and that is something so much more powerful than anything clinical. So I think that if we can acknowledge, which would be sort of interesting, but if there was a person out there that could acknowledge, hey, I really have these narcissistic traits and I want to work on it, and I'm going to go to a therapist and damn, I'm going to make it happen. I suppose it could get a lot better, but that doesn't usually happen.
It's so narcissists, they lack empathy. Or they just don't?
They just don't feel it. They don't care about other people. They care about other people as far as their needs are met. So, for example, let's say you have a narcissistic father, okay? And let's say his children are behaving and the wife does everything he says and everything's going well. You might not see a lot of the, horrifying traits coming out. But as soon as narcissists don't get their way, you'll see like a whole nother person emerge. And they never stay silent because nobody can please you all the time. Every time it's impossible, So, I think I just lost track of your question. But is there anything they can do?
Oh no, no. It's like I just was wondering if like their behavior, their personality is somebody they just don't lack empathy. Like if you're going,
empathy, that's right. Yeah, they just don't. Yeah, and I was saying they just don't feel it. Like for example, let's take someone who habitually cheats on their partner. Okay, I've worked with people like this. They really don't care. They don't care. They don't.
So why would anybody want to be involved with somebody like that if they just don't care? I mean, what kind of life would that be? I mean,
it's a horrible life.
And they seem like they're just like they're looking for gratification at their own expense. Somebody else's expense.
Yes.
They need to win. Like they just sort of like who could you give me an example as a narcissist? Somebody out there in the public eye.
Okay, so God, I could give you so many that I think, but I don't want to get in too much trouble. But let's see. I think Grant Cardone is. Do you know who he is?
Not really.
Okay, so let's.
Well, how about is Donald Trump a narcissist?
Yes, Donald Trump is without a doubt a narcissist. Yes, in my opinion, in my professional opinion. Now, that doesn't mean, because I don't want to get political or anything, that doesn't mean if someone's a narcissist, it doesn't mean that they can't be successful or intelligent or, good at what they do. It just means that in their personal relationships and the way that they treat people isn't going to be very great. Like if you look at what happened with Donald Trump, we would constantly hear of him tweeting, like, firing people. Like, I don't know if you remember, like in the beginning when he took office, it was like, oh my God, every day there was like 50 people fired and it was like crazy, chaotic.
Well, who else sounds like that is that Kamala Harris. She was always, she seems like she would be a narcissist.
Big time. I actually did a show. I have to find it, but I did a show, and I was diagnosed just for fun, and I diagnosed Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, and Donald Trump, and I think somebody else, and explained why I gave them that diagnosis, just for fun.
Mhm.
And they're all, you could almost bet that 95% of people who are high up in politics are probably narcissists. Because you have to hurt so many people, and you have to make so many deals, you have to do so much lying to get.
Yeah, it would seem
top
to
place.
to actually do something like that. You probably you have to be a narcissist, because who would want to deal with all that?
Exactly. And one of the things I find interesting about Donald Trump is that, different from the typical narcissist we're used to seeing in politics, is that he was exactly who he was. He wasn't really a con artist. He just was who he was. And you could hate him or you could love him, but there was no hiding his personality.
Mhm.
So, and there are a lot of narcissists like that. They're just out there, and you just, wow, these people are really abrasive and rude. And, so you have those types, but then you also have the more, underhanded, I think the pop term is covert, where maybe like a Joe Biden who, smiles and says nice things, but behind doors, he's selling out all kinds of things,
Yeah.
So it's, when you're looking at power, who's looking for that kind of power? A narcissist,
A
who wants
narcissist.
to, like you said, who wants to run the country, who wants that that spotlight to take over their lives
Mhm.
and have to deal with everything. You could almost count, it would have to be, somebody who is narcissistic.
Yeah, it just seems like if you're with somebody like that, you'd probably feel like you're on eggshells all the time, or you're on a treadmill. Why am I can't get off this relationship? Why do I keep doing it to myself? It's like, how do you break free from it if you don't want it? Because I know a lot of my female friends they're involved with people who are men who are narcissists, and they're just like looking for the abuse, and I'm like, why? Why do you put up with it? Just walk away. I don't.
Well,
It's
it's
like,
hard. It's hard because I don't think anyone's looking for it. I really don't believe that. I think what happens is, when we enter our romantic relationships, if we want to understand them, I think we have to look at, where were we when we began the relationship?
mhm.
Were we developed? Were we 18? Were we 40? Okay. Did we like ourselves? Did we know who we are? Did we, do we not? So if you look at the mental health of the individual at the time they entered the relationship, that can look really different 10 years into the relationship. So,
But I don't understand how that is, Elizabeth. Like, how can you be with somebody you think that loves you and care for you, but they don't have any empathy for anything that you do? Like, if you're going through they just, oh well, I'm sorry, get over it, whatever. Despite their
I think, well, see, it's not that simple, because narcissists are very manipulative. Okay. So there's a whole sort of brainwashing manipulation that goes into that. And what narcissists will do is, in the beginning of a relationship, they do what's called love bombing, and they'll, buy you presents every day and write you love letters and, try to sweep you off your feet. And then once they have you, then they'll start playing mind games with you. They criticize you, and you kind of get under their spell, and you can't figure out what's going on. And women, I think, have a really hard time getting away from narcissistic men, because narcissistic men display so many traits that we were taught to admire. Okay. Strength, very, masculine, sort of that, I want to say patriarch, but kind of patriarchal traits that we were taught makes a man a man.
Mhm.
So it's very confusing. You know, most of the women who have been with narcissists in my 15 years of practice have been the most fantastic women you'd ever meet. Beautiful, smart, high achieving, people who just give and give and give, and they're very selfless, and they don't understand that they're allowed to have wants and needs just like their partner. So a lot of times when I get them in therapy, it's not really working on the narcissist, or, you know, maybe it's defining what a narcissist is so they can understand what they're dealing with. But then it's counseling that person into loving themselves and to understanding what value they bring to the table, and then having them build the strength to walk away. But it sounds like, you know, it's when you're not a therapist, or when you're not, you know, in the world, I guess, that I'm in with mental health, it's from the outside, yeah, it's black and white. It's like, oh, hey, someone's not being nice to you, break up with them, you know, or divorce them. But it's just not simple like that. You know, people have family, you know, wrapped up with each other, and, you know, finances and all kinds of emotional experiences that, you know, no matter what's going on, they can be very hard to break away from. So that's kind of where I come in.
Can they change? Can they change their behavior so they're not a narcissist anymore?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I've, you know, in all of my years of being, okay, I'm 47, which is, you know, so I've been on the earth for 47 years, and I've been in mental health for like 15 or so years. I've never seen it. I've seen some people who maybe have some traits, but don't really qualify for the full blown, you know, disorder diagnosis. I've seen some of those people be able to get a hold of themselves and do better. And I do believe that people change, because I'm a therapist. I better, you know, or I better not be in this business. But when it comes to narcissism, when it comes to personality disorders, it's highly unlikely.
So no matter, like, once you're a narcissist, you're always a narcissist. There's no way to change. So
not really.
So
no.
If you want to be abused in a relationship, then you just have to learn to live with it, or you just get out. Is that what you?
Yeah, I mean, you know, what I tell people when they come to me, you know, first of all, they don't know narcissism really. A lot of people don't really understand it. Like, they hear it spoken about in pop culture, but they don't really know what it is.
Well, I didn't know what it was. I just thought it was like a narcissist is somebody who likes to beat up people, you know, like to make themselves feel better. But that's what I thought a narcissist was.
Well, that could be a trait of a narcissist, but that's not the whole picture, you know? So a lot of times, you know, people will come into therapy, you know, distraught because this relationship is, you know, going so poorly, and they're being treated this way, but then the partner's really nice, and so it gets confusing because it's an abusive cycle. I hurt you, I abuse you, then I'm really nice to you, so you want to stay. I hurt you, I abuse you, I apologize, and I'm really nice to you, so you want to stay. Okay, that's the cycle. So when you are thinking about, you know, like, when you're thinking about change, or you're thinking about, you know, this relationship that's so painful for you, I have to get people to understand it's about you. It's not about the person that's bothering you. You can't change other people. You can't. You can. I think if you have two healthy people who really come in to love each other, then yes, they can change and heal and grow together, and it's beautiful and it's lovely. But if you have even if you have one really messed up person with a really lovely person, it's just not going to work out well. And so I try to get clients to understand that, okay, I think if you don't want to call this person a narcissist that you're with, okay, fine. But let's just say that they're toxic. Let's just say that they're destructive.
Yeah.
So you can either live with it, and I'll teach you some coping skills. You can live with it if that's what you want. Or we can explore you first,
Mm-hmm.
and let's see, once we do a little self-exploration, where you may be, because you might be, then once you start knowing yourself and loving yourself and understanding yourself, you might be like, what the hell am I doing with this guy? I'm out of here.
Exactly.
But for me to tell somebody that on a first session is a bit presumptuous, and people may not be ready to hear that. So, I have to be very patient with people.
And it doesn't have to be just a love relationship. It can be like a sibling or a parent that's a
Absolutely.
narcissist.
Absolutely.
And
And those are really, really, really difficult because, with those relationships, what I get that's so painful from my clients is, but it's my mom.
Yeah,
and
honey.
I love her, but it's my dad, but it's my sister, but it's my brother. And that could be a whole nother show.
Exactly. It's like, how do you deal with it if it's somebody you want to be connected to? I mean,
Right.
because with a relationship is, a significant other, you can just say, okay, I've had it. I can't do it anymore. I'm done being your, what do you want to call me, a doormat? Walked all over, and it's so distressing because I see so many people, men included, that are involved with a relationship with somebody who basically abuses them. I mean, how much they get off of it's like they kind of get off abusing people. I don't understand, like, why.
Listen, I mean, if abusive people, the old saying, hurt people, right? So when you are unhappy with yourself, when you are depressed, when you are miserable for whatever
misery
your
loves
reasons are,
company. Maybe that's it.
Yeah, some people are just mean, and they just take it out on other people. And they actually, I do think people who abuse feel empowered.
Yeah, it's like they like, it makes them feel like stronger or something. But is there a way that you can, play their game to get, like, try to sway them?
Yes. But yes, there's a way. But I mean, I've been doing this for so many years, so I could do it with my eyes closed. But I tell people I can teach you how to do it, but if you do that, you're never really being authentic to yourself. It will keep things quiet for a little while, and I can teach you how to do it. I mean, basically, you have to stroke them. You have to tell them how wonderful they are and how perfect they are, and yes, you're right, and that just kind of keeps them quiet.
Yeah.
But I mean, who really wants to live like that?
I don't know any. I mean, I struggle with this every day because, like I said, I have friends that are involved with people like that. And, like, why do you put up with it? I know you said because they feel trapped. Maybe they have kids or something like that.
I mean, there's so many reasons. I mean, the most common excuses that I get is, for the kids, I'm staying for the kids, or I don't have the money. And while, listen, those things are true consequences. Okay. I mean, kids are hurt when there's divorce, especially when they're little. And that's a fact. Okay. So I tell people that's true. Okay. Yeah. That's probably okay. You can stay for the kids, but what are the kids then seeing? What are they seeing their parent acknowledge is okay? And what is that doing to them? So really, what's the better choice? And then a lot of people, I've worked with a lot of women who don't have the money, they don't have enough money, and the narcissistic husbands threaten them and control them with money. So
yeah,
it's real. I mean, I get it. It's real. But I really believe that beyond all of that, the one thing that really is the truth that keeps people from getting out of relationships that are abusive or unhealthy for them is a lack of love for yourself.
Yeah. Self-esteem.
If you don't love yourself, you will get into all kinds of predicaments with other people.
That's so sad to hear that women, men and women, that they would rather be in a relationship with somebody like that. I mean, if you love yourself, why would you want to put yourself through that? I mean, it's
Well, most people have never had the opportunity. So many people have not had the opportunity to work on themselves. We all, come from different types of childhoods and have been through different things and have been told different messages about ourselves. And we're all going to pick up on those messages in a different way. Some of us are more sensitive. Some of us can brush it off. And then we have all of these life experiences, which can really, shape a person. So again, I don't think anybody wants to be abused.
No,
Nobody wants to be abused. Everybody is looking for love under everything. But when you miss, not to sound like Whitney Houston, but when you miss the greatest love of all, which is learning to love yourself. If you don't get that, and I don't believe most people understand that, then you are very vulnerable to getting into situations with people that, could turn out to be quite destructive.
Yeah, I think.
And that could be any relationship, mother, father, sister, brother.
I think the greatest gift you can give a child as a parent is to teach them how to love themselves so they don't fall to victim to somebody like that. It's unfortunate.
That is important, but unfortunately we don't live in a utopia, and that's not really done. The real statistics that I see as a mental health counselor of what's going on out there is not pretty.
No.
So, I think a lot of people have children that probably shouldn't. And a lot of people have kids and then they just do the best they can because life is hard. Life is beautiful, but life is very hard at times. So we do the best we can with what we have. And, when you're, I guess in my position as a therapist, I've been through so much of other people's life experiences with them. I don't judge them. I just say, it could happen to any of us.
Yeah.
Because it could.
Yeah. Since we talked about the characteristics of a narcissist, and how can you protect yourself against the destructive narcissists in your life?
Well, I think you have to learn to set boundaries. I think boundaries are the most important thing in any relationship, whether it's healthy or not healthy. In fact, boundaries make relationships healthy. And boundaries basically are, you and your partner, or you and your friends and family, kind of having a conversation about what is and what is not okay. So if you have a narcissist, they can be very mean and very critical. So I had a situation just the other evening where I had sort of a narcissistic family member, make a comment to me. And I just immediately walked away the first time. And then the second time, I just looked her right in the eye and I said, do not speak to me this way. Just don't. I'm not going to take it. And they get pretty scared off when you can do that. So I think you have to set boundaries with people and say, these are my expectations. My expectations are that, I'm only going to be around people who honor me. So you can either honor me and treat me respectfully, or then I don't need to be in your life. Or we can just see each other, if you're my mom, and we can see each other once a month, or we can just talk on the phone. And I think you have to really look at those boundaries and see, do you have them? Do you have boundaries? Do you set boundaries with people in relationships? Do you even know what a boundary is? Do you know how to set them? And I think boundaries are the most incredible game changer of life. When you know how to set your boundaries, your life will just change into something really incredible.
And just show them what you won't tolerate. I won't tolerate it. Just walk away. It's a little easier said than done when you're in a relationship like that. Like, just to walk away. Then you have once you do, then you start having your doubts. And I think Isn't that what narcissists like? They like you to doubt yourself.
Yeah, I think narcissists, they play a lot of head games. So again, that's why there's such a cycle with narcissists, and that's how they keep you, because they go from they'll be really nice, and they can be very charismatic and very charming, and oh my God, this person's so great. And then they'll do something really awful, and then they'll apologize, and that's how they bring you back in, and then they'll be really, really, really nice.
It's sort of like a wife beater. Like they would, oh, I love you so much, hit you. I'll never do it again, and hit you again. I swear I'll never do it again, and give them a kiss, and they try to make up, and it just the cycle just keeps going.
Yes,
That's what
it's exactly the same cycle. As it doesn't really matter if you're hitting somebody with your hands or if you're hitting somebody with your words.
Mm-hmm.
When you hit somebody, it hurts. And, there's a difference between regular marital banter and arguing and abuse.
Well, how do you recover from a relationship with a narcissist? How do you go on?
It's very hard. I've worked with people for years afterwards, and it gets all the things we talked about. It's setting boundaries with everybody. Learning how to set boundaries, learning about yourself, learning about, where your voice is. I mean, women especially lose their voice. They don't have a voice. And it's giving them that voice back. And men too. I mean, it's not just a female problem, but women have a much harder time setting boundaries than men in general, I would say. But it's boundary setting. It's working on yourself and empowering yourself to, really make a commitment to yourself about what you want your relationships to look like, and then sticking to it.
Yeah, it's like honoring your feelings, your grief, despair, anger, sense of injustice when you're in a relationship with somebody. And if it doesn't make you feel good, then I think it was time to just try to move on. Or, I mean, why do you have to determine, what do you want? Do you want to live with this, or do you want to value yourself? And your feelings aren't wrong just because this person thinks they are. So it's there's so much valuable information we talked about in such a short time. Is there anything that you want to give people to take away from what should they, a little bit of advice in what direction they should go if they are in a relationship, via if it's a relationship, a husband, wife, lover, or a parent or sibling? What kind of advice you would give them to take away?
Yeah, I mean, I think the first piece of advice is, I would say, take a step back and don't make any drastic decisions, but take a step back and really think about yourself and put yourself first, and think about, does this relationship match what I really, really want? And if you feel like you're really trapped and you don't know how to get out, you need to seek help. You have to talk to a professional. Nobody can do this by themselves. Not even other therapists that I've known who've been in relationships with narcissists. Everybody needs help. And everybody needs an objective voice and a place they can go and not be judged for the situations that they're in. So I think take a step back and slow down is always good advice for anything. And put yourself as number one. You're the most important person. And when you really believe that, your life will change. And a lot of us need a lot of help believing that, because we've been told the opposite for most of our lives. So, I'm very available. I mean, I'm easy to find on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, YouTube. My website is actuation-counseling.com. And even if it's just a session, sometimes you just want to, hey, I just want one session to guide me. I've done that for people. But I think reading on the internet is only going to get you so far, because you're going to get a lot of misinformation. But it's not a bad start. At least you're doing something to help yourself. So my advice is always slow down and reevaluate.
Absolutely. And Leslie, take care of yourself. Self-care is the most what narcissists hate. So it's this essential, healthy living. Well, thank you so much.
They don't like your therapist either.
No.
At all.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. Sorry, we got off on a wrong track with trying to log in.
No, it's okay. Thank you for
Hopefully we'll have you back on for the next topic.
Anytime, it'd be my pleasure. And I'm really honored that you thought of me, and I appreciate it. And I hope it was helpful to everybody who was listening.
I hope so too. Well, thanks, Elizabeth. You have a good day. Well, there you go, folks. If you have a narcissist in your family, there's a way to get out, or you can stay and learn to live with it. So check out, mental health is so important these days. So treat yourself, love yourself. I just want to say we have 5 minutes left to the show. I just want to recap on some things we were talking about last night on Chasing Prophecy with the chemical spill in East Palestine, Ohio. I got a couple of emails today I really didn't like. Apparently, pets are getting sick. And this is going closer to Mars, Pennsylvania, Beaver County area. I've gotten 2 messages on Facebook regarding this. So if you see that your pet's not feeling good, take them inside, take them to the vet, see if they can be tested. This particular pet was tested for the vinyl, not doing well. And then I got a message from another friend who said that she got a form letter from her doctor on ways to protect yourself in regards to any kind of toxins that you might be exposed to. And what was some of the things they said to do is make sure you eat healthy, move your bowels daily, get a lot of fresh air, get a purifier, and make sure it's clean with a carbon-based filter. So that's very important. And drink dandelion tea, anything that's going to help your lymphatic system. But if you see that you're not feeling good, go to your doctor. Stay outside if it's really windy. At this point, I think it's too late. And all we can do is hope and pray that we aren't affected by it. And unfortunately, Biden was not there. He did not go. He's too busy in Poland and Russia. And Kelly, I don't know what else we can say in the last few minutes, but thanks for sticking by me as my wing gal in the background if I need you. Unfortunately, this show, the beginning started off a little shaky, but I think it ended good. She had a lot of information. There's one other thing.
Yeah, I apologize for being on mute most of the time. I have a little girl here who's talking a lot today, so.
She can always join the show. You can have a little giggle here and there. It doesn't hurt anybody. Yeah, I think she gave us a lot of valuable information, which is good. We all need that. I know I talk a lot about my relationships with family and a few friends that I think are narcissists. But hopefully next week's show is going to be a little bit better. We have a woman on the show that's going to tell us a little bit about her near-death experience and how she overcome using affirmations to heal her body. Sounds interesting. But I'm going to go ahead and call it a day. Have a great day. Get your ashes. Go to church. We all have to go to church for a little bit during Lent. I think I should get there early because I'm losing my mind. That's okay. We had a great show last night, but we're going to end the show now. See you later. And remember, life is art. Live yours in color. Good night, everybody.